Good day, good morning, hello. This is Josh here with the sun right in my face, as if to make up for the murky, dark video the other day. Daylight savings has now ended, and so it's bright in the morning and then it's dark when I get out of work, and that's no fun. But I'm here to talk about a film of the moment, sort of. Robert Zemeckis is here. This is being touted as the creative team from Forrest Gump is back together. It's Tom Hanks, Robin Wright, director Zemeckis, and the writer of Forrest Gump, what's his name, Eric Roth? Whatever that guy's name is. They're all back. And this is, I'm not gonna all right, here's the deal. I've talked a lot in my reviews about how I used to be a movie snob, and then I've softened over time, and I'm just grateful for movies and escapism, and I love the movies, and I want movies to succeed, and it takes a lot. It takes Joker Folie à Deux for me to be like, this fails, this doesn't work. Here might be the worst movie of the year in terms of a swing that misses, and it's a year that has Joker Folie à Deux in it, so that's saying a lot. And this is latter career Zemeckis, where he has just been preoccupied with technology, with motion capture and de-aging and animation and things like that. And so this guy who used to make these amazing, thrilling analog movies, like Romancing the Stone and Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Back to the Future, is now making every movie is some kind of technological experiment. And sometimes he hits on something like Flight. A lot of people like that movie. I thought it was a pretty good movie. The Walk was kind of like, it had something to it. It got a little wrapped up in itself and its technology as well. But then you get a lot of, his Pinocchio live action, his weird Beowulf, which I know some people like. And you get this. You get Here, which is a gimmick movie. There's no other way to say it. Like, it's based on a graphic novel, but in a graphic novel, you're already like, all right. So the conceit is, the camera is locked down, the viewpoint is locked down, and you're seeing the same angle on the same space in one spot in America over time. And that means, in addition to a family that lives in a house and their struggles and their story and their memoir, we're going back to the prehistoric era, we're going back to Native Americans, Revolutionary War. We're getting glimpses of all kinds of things. We're even going a little bit into the future beyond the family that we're focusing on. All this sounds kind of interesting on paper, and I would imagine it literally is interesting on paper in the graphic novel, which I have not read. But boxes focusing your attention onto, different scenes and tableaus is kind of what comics are made of. And it is a conceit to always show the same scene, but change the era and the trappings. But in cinema, there is a cinematic language, and you become very aware very quickly in this movie that the movement of the camera, or at least the ability of the camera to cut to a different perspective, is such an integral part of that language of cinema, so that by making the choice to lock that camera down for the entirety of a feature-length movie, it immediately feels disconcerting, it feels claustrophobic, and it makes everything that happened feel fake. And it doesn't help that on top of that, you have a lot of people in age makeup, you have de-aged, you have Tom Hanks and Robin Wright playing teenagers. Tom Hanks has like his current version of his kind of gravelly version of his voice. They didn't do much to sweeten it, but he's like, he looks like a CGI version of Bosom Buddies Tom Hanks. On top of that, it's just maudlin scenes, births, Christmases, funerals, and weddings and funerals and childbirths all take place in the living room. There's contrivances that every important thing ever happens. It's the one thing this movie has in common with Forrest Gump, I guess, is that it's not like they're caught up. It's not like the characters are personally transplanted into these great moments in history. They're hearing them on the TV, they're hearing them on the radio, but they're all happening, and we see all of them, and we see what the family was like, little snapshots, and they're always in the living room for these things. So, and look, that's kind of the American experience. I get it. A lot of things happen in the den, and a lot of your memories are in your den or your rumpus room or whatever we're calling it. But this movie, the performances, these are interesting actors. Paul Bettany is there. I'm blanking on the other cast. Good cast. Everybody's pretty good. They're just, it's hard to describe. Like, it kind of feels like stage acting because it's basically a proscenium, and actors are just coming in and saying, well, I didn't get the raise and I didn't get the job and we have to sell the house. And like, it feels like a really bad play most of the time. And it's just, it's such a swing and a miss. And I feel kind of bad. Like, I didn't have high hopes for it. It doesn't look great. But I don't know. You like the actors, you want them to do well. And Tom Hanks, if anybody can sell this kind of schmaltzy stuff, it's Tom Hanks. But the movie goes to some places. I won't describe what the real thrust of the emotional story is about. I'll just say that it hits home in various ways, but it just feels weird and forced, and people keep talking about the passage of time, and we get some weird. By the way, there's lots of other things. There's a man in the 18th century, I guess, who's obsessed with aviation. There's Ben Franklin's illegitimate son lived in this house, or near it, because in the background of it. There's a family that lives there after them, as I mentioned. There's an inventor, the inventor of a piece of furniture lives there. And this movie is mercifully short. It's actually, for a Zemeckis, it's like an hour and 45, because it's almost as if the movie can feel that this is constricting, that this is claustrophobic, and it kind of rushes through everything, even though it has this great scope. And as I mentioned, there's prehistoric, there's dinosaurs. So it's kind of like, after the trailer, I texted to my friend that this looked like Tree of Life for Dummies, which is a little mean. But it's trying to do that sweep of history poignancy thing, and it doesn't work. Now, I'm not going to spoil the story, but I'm going to say something about the end that spoils something about the technique. So maybe skip a minute, or maybe we're almost done anyway. But so I'm not going to spoil what happens to the characters. I'm going to spoil what happens to the camera at the end of the movie, just because it illustrates a point about this. Okay, so you've been warned. I'm about to say a thing that happens. At the very end of the movie, there is an emotional catharsis, an emotional outburst, climax. I'm not going to say what it is or who it is or any of that. But after that point, the camera moves, finally. And I'll acknowledge that this is the most successful part of the movie, where you feel something and you feel like swept up in it. But it only underlines, that it's because the language of cinema is kicking in, finally. We've been sitting here for an hour and 40 minutes, just locked in, and they've been coming up with clever ways to have a mirror go by so you can see into the back room, or making the front of the house disappear so you can see what's going on in the lawn. There's been all kinds of clever tricks to make it more cinematic, but that camera never moving or cutting you feel it. You feel it bad. And when the camera finally moves, you're like, yes, no, this is it. This is a movie. So it's like a backhanded compliment to say that the ending works better than anything else, but it just reminds you of what has not been working the whole time. This is a movie that, do you remember back when IMAX was actually IMAX? It wasn't just a slightly bigger screen with the same blockbuster movies on it. They actually made IMAX movies, and they were about, Morgan Freeman narrating about penguins, or something about space and the cosmos or the deep. They would have concept movies like this, like historical movies that would show things over time or whatever. This feels like this could have been an experimental movie. Don't put famous actors in it. Just make it like a 20 to 30 minute version of this, and it would have been a Disney attraction or an IMAX movie or something like that. That might have worked and been really interesting, and you could see it on vacation and stay in the air conditioning for a little while and then say that movie was really cool. But instead, it's here in awards season on the big screen, taking up almost 2 hours. And I just, I'm kind of glad I saw it, because I'm talking to you about it. If you're curious about it, or if you don't miss a Robert Zemeckis movie just out of even morbid curiosity, yeah, it's something. It's something to see and talk about. Thank you so much for watching, listening, liking, sharing, or however you choose to engage. I have a Patreon where people can see these things early. And there's exclusive stuff too in a podcast feed, and I'll put all of that in the description. And I'll be back very soon with more movie reviews and other fun stuff. And I'm pretending that this is not the morning of November 6th. I'm just pretending this is any other day that I'm talking to you about a movie, which is something I love to do and makes me happy and makes the world a happy place. Josh out.